Mia was a small girl with quiet eyes and slow steps who lived in a house that never felt like home. She woke up every morning before the sun and lay still in bed listening to the sounds of doors opening and closing. The house smelled cold and empty even when people were inside. Mia learned early that silence kept her safe and being unseen kept her out of trouble. She dressed herself without help and folded her blanket the same way every day. Her school bag was old but clean and she carried it like something fragile. She looked at herself in the mirror once and then turned away because she did not like what she saw. Her face looked tired and her smile had forgotten how to stay. At school Mia sat in the back row near the window. She liked the window because it showed a world where people walked freely and birds flew without rules. The other children laughed loudly and shared secrets that never included her. When Mia tried to speak, her voice came out soft and shaky. The teacher often did not hear her and moved on. During lunch Mia ate slowly so the time would pass without attention. She watched groups of children play and wondered what it felt like to belong. Sometimes someone would look at her and whisper to another child. Mia pretended not to notice, but every whisper stayed with her. She told herself to be strong, even when her chest felt heavy. When school ended, Mia walked home alone. The street felt long and the houses felt tall. She counted her steps to keep her thoughts quiet. At home she put her shoes away and sat on the steps outside because inside felt too loud even when no one was talking. The steps were cold, but they felt honest. Mia often sat there until the sky changed color. She hugged her knees and watched shadows move across the ground. She wondered why some children were chosen to be loved easily while others had to fight for every small kindness. She did not understand what she had done wrong. That evening the wind was soft and the street was quiet. Mia stared at the road with empty eyes. She felt tired in a way sleep could not fix. Her heart felt like it had been carrying stones for too long. She thought about how easy it would be to stop caring at all. She did not notice the dog at first. He stood at the end of the street, watching without making a sound. His fur was dusty and uneven, and his ribs showed slightly under his skin. His eyes were calm but alert, like he had learned to survive by observing quietly. The dog moved slowly closer step by step. He did not rush or bark or scare her. He stopped a short distance away and sat down. Mia noticed him then and froze for a moment. She was used to being ignored but not used to being watched with care. The dog tilted his head and waited. Mia did not move. She felt unsure but not afraid. Something about his stillness made her feel safe. After a moment he came closer and sat beside her on the step. He did not touch her at first. Mia watched him from the corner of her eye. His tail rested on the ground and his breathing was slow. He smelled like dust and grass and open air. She reached out carefully and touched his fur. It was warm. The dog leaned into her hand gently. Mia felt a small shock of surprise move through her chest. No one leaned into her like that. No one chose to stay close. Her fingers stayed on his head and she felt his calm move into her. For a long moment neither of them moved. Cars passed in the distance and lights turned on in nearby houses. Mia forgot to count her breaths. She forgot to watch the sky. She focused only on the steady presence beside her. The dog lifted his paw slowly and placed it on her knee. The movement was gentle and unsure, like he was asking permission. Mia looked down at the paw resting on her leg. Her eyes filled, but she did not pull away. She whispered a soft hello, even though she did not know why. The dog looked up at her and his tail moved once. It was not excitement but understanding. Mia felt something shift inside her chest. It was small but real. She stayed on the steps longer than usual that night. The dog stayed too. When the door opened behind her, she did not jump. She felt grounded for the first time in days. When she finally stood up, the dog stood with her. Mia went inside but kept looking back through the door window. The dog sat where she had been sitting and waited. That sight stayed in her mind long after she went to bed. Lying under her blanket, Mia stared at the ceiling. Her thoughts were quieter than usual. She thought about the dog and how he had appeared without asking anything from her. She thought about how he stayed. For the first time in a long while, Mia fell asleep without fear pressing on her chest. She did not know it yet, but something important had begun on those cold steps. A small connection had formed between two lonely hearts. And that connection would soon change everything. Mia woke up the next morning with the image of the dog still clear in her mind. She sat up in bed and listened to the house as she always did. The sounds were the same, but her chest felt slightly lighter. She wondered if the dog would return, or if he had only been a moment that passed. At school she looked out the window more than usual. She searched the playground with her eyes even though she knew the dog would not be there. Her classmates talked and laughed, but their voices felt far away. Mia touched her notebook and thought about the warmth of the dog's fur. When the final bell rang, Mia did not rush home. She walked slowly with her bag pressed against her side. Her eyes kept moving to the street ahead. With every step her hope grew and fear followed close behind. As she turned the corner near her house, she stopped suddenly. The dog was there, sitting near the steps like he belonged there. His ears lifted when he saw her, and his tail moved gently. Mia felt her breath catch and then release. She did not smile right away. She stood still like the moment might break if she moved too fast. The dog stayed where he was and waited. That patience made her feel safe. Mia stepped closer and sat on the steps. The dog stood and walked to her slowly. He leaned against her leg like he had done before. Mia placed her hand on his back and felt the steady rise and fall. That afternoon became a pattern. Every day after school the dog was there. Sometimes he arrived before her, and sometimes he came running when he heard her steps. He never barked loudly or scared her. He stayed calm like he understood her quiet world. Mia started talking to him softly. She told him about school and how the other children never chose her for games. She told him about how she tried to be invisible to avoid trouble. The dog listened with his head tilted and eyes gentle. She named him Leo because the name felt warm and strong. When she said his name, his tail moved like he accepted it. Mia felt proud for the first time in a long while. People in the neighborhood noticed the dog, but no one claimed him. Some adults tried to shoo him away, but he always returned. When he sat beside Mia, they left them alone. There was something about the way he stayed close that made people pause. One evening, voices inside the house became louder than usual. Mia stepped outside quickly and sat on the ground near the steps. Her hands shook and her breathing felt uneven. Leo appeared almost immediately and pressed himself against her. Mia buried her face in his fur and let the tears come. She did not hide them. Leo stayed still and strong. His presence felt like a wall against the noise. After that night, Mia changed in small ways. She started standing a little straighter at school. She looked people in the eyes more often. When someone whispered, she still felt hurt, but she remembered Leo waiting for her after school. One afternoon, a girl from her class noticed Leo. The girl asked if the dog was hers. Mia hesitated and then nodded slowly. The girl smiled and said he was beautiful. That moment stayed with Mia all day. Mia began to feel needed. Leo depended on her voice and her touch. She brought him water and small bits of food when she could. She brushed his fur with her fingers and talked to him about her dreams. She dreamed of a place where she and Leo could stay together without fear. She dreamed of mornings filled with quiet joy. She dreamed of being chosen. One day, a neighbor approached her gently. The neighbor asked about the dog and listened as Mia spoke. Her voice did not shake. She explained how Leo had been there for her every day. The neighbor looked at Leo and then at Mia. She saw the bond between them. She promised to help. That promise made Mia's heart race with hope and worry together. That night, Mia lay in bed thinking about what might happen. She feared losing Leo, but she also feared staying silent. For the first time, she understood that caring meant risk. The next day, Leo was still there waiting. Mia knelt and hugged him carefully. She whispered that everything would be okay even though she was not sure. Leo pressed his head into her shoulder like he believed her. As the sun set that evening, Mia felt stronger than she ever had before. She was still small and quiet, but something inside her had changed. She was no longer alone. What Mia did not know was that others were beginning to notice. The quiet girl on the steps was starting to be seen. And the dog who chose her was about to change her life in ways she never imagined. Mia noticed the change before anyone else did. She felt it in the way her steps felt firmer when she walked to school. She felt it in the way her chest no longer felt empty in the mornings. Leo was waiting for her every afternoon, and that promise carried her through the day. At school, Mia still sat near the window, but she no longer hid her face. She listened carefully and wrote neatly in her notebook. When the teacher asked questions, Mia raised her hand more often. Her voice was soft, but it was steady. Some classmates noticed. A few whispered less. A few watched her with curiosity instead of mockery. Mia did not expect kindness, but she no longer feared attention as much. She reminded herself that someone was waiting for her after the final bell. Leo waited every day without fail. Rain did not stop him and noise did not scare him. He sat near the steps like a guard made of patience. When Mia appeared, his whole body relaxed. Mia began bringing an old towel to dry his fur when it rained. She brought him water in a small bowl she hid near the steps. She talked to him about stories she imagined and places she wanted to see. Leo listened like every word mattered. One afternoon, a car stopped near the house. 2 adults stepped out and looked around. Mia felt a sudden tightness in her chest. Leo stood closer to her and stayed still. The adults spoke to a neighbor and pointed gently toward the dog. Mia could not hear the words, but she understood the meaning. Her hands trembled and she wrapped her arms around Leo's neck. The neighbor approached Mia slowly. She spoke kindly and explained that the adults helped lost animals find homes. Mia felt tears rise, but she did not cry. She asked if Leo had to leave. The neighbor paused and looked at Mia carefully. She saw the fear and the strength together. She promised that nothing would happen without care. She said Mia could come with them if Leo needed help. Mia nodded even though her legs felt weak. Leo walked beside her calmly, as if he trusted the path ahead. The car ride felt long and quiet. Mia kept one hand on Leo's back the entire time. The building they entered smelled clean and bright. People moved gently and spoke softly. Leo stayed close to Mia and did not resist. Workers noticed how he responded to her voice. They noticed how he followed her steps. Mia sat with Leo in a small room. She read him words from a book she brought from school. Her voice stayed calm even though her heart was racing. Leo rested his head on her knee and closed his eyes. The workers spoke outside the room. They watched through the window. They saw how the dog relaxed when Mia was near. They saw how the girl smiled without fear. Days passed slowly after that visit. Leo did not stay at the house anymore. Mia felt the absence like a missing piece. She returned to the steps every afternoon and waited. The neighbor kept her promise and visited often. She told Mia that Leo was safe. She told Mia that people noticed their bond. She told Mia to keep believing. Mia tried to be brave. She focused on school and listened carefully. She wrote about Leo in her notebook and imagined him running freely. She spoke to him in her thoughts when nights felt long. One afternoon, the neighbor returned with news. She said there was a chance. She said some people believed Leo belonged with Mia. Mia felt hope rise slowly like a fragile flame. The process was not quick. Papers were discussed and visits were planned. Mia traveled to see Leo often. Every visit made their bond stronger. Leo wagged his tail every time she entered the room. The workers smiled when they saw them together. They said the dog had changed. They said he waited quietly for Mia. They said he ate better and rested better when she was near. Mia realized something important during those visits. She realized that Leo had not only helped her survive her hardest days. She realized she had helped him too. She spoke more confidently during meetings. She answered questions clearly. She explained how Leo made her feel safe. Her words came from truth, and that made them powerful. One evening Mia returned home after a visit feeling hopeful and afraid. She sat on the steps alone and looked at the sky. She whispered Leo's name and promised she would not give up. Inside her chest the heavy stones were gone. In their place was something new. It was belief. Mia did not know what the final answer would be yet. But she knew one thing with certainty. She was stronger than she had ever been before. And the dog who chose her had taught her that her life mattered. Mia woke up early on the morning that felt different from all the others. The air in the house felt lighter and the silence felt calm instead of heavy. She dressed slowly and checked the window more than once. Her heart beat fast but steady. At school she could not focus on the lessons. Her thoughts stayed with Leo and the promise that today might change everything. When the final bell rang she stood up without waiting. Her feet moved faster than usual as she walked outside. The neighbor was waiting near the gate. She smiled softly and nodded. Mia understood the meaning without words. Her hands trembled as she followed her to the car. The ride felt shorter than before. Mia watched the road and whispered Leo's name under her breath. She remembered every moment they had shared and held them close. When they arrived at the building, Mia saw Leo before he saw her. He was sitting calmly, but his ears lifted as soon as he sensed her. When he turned and saw her, his tail moved quickly. Mia ran to him without thinking. She knelt and wrapped her arms around his neck. Leo pressed against her and rested his head on her shoulder. People around them smiled quietly. The workers spoke kindly and explained the final steps. Mia listened carefully and answered every question. Her voice was clear and strong. She did not hide her feelings. The neighbor stood beside her and supported her words. She spoke about how Mia had changed. She spoke about the bond that could not be taught. After a long moment, the worker nodded and smiled. She said Leo could go home. She said they belonged together. Mia felt tears fall, but she did not wipe them away. They were warm and full of relief. She hugged Leo again and laughed softly. Leo stayed close like he always had. The walk back to the car felt unreal. Mia held the leash carefully like it was something precious. Leo walked beside her proudly. When they reached the house, the steps were waiting. Mia sat down and Leo sat beside her. The moment felt complete. Life did not change all at once. But it changed enough. The house felt quieter. The days felt shorter. The nights felt safer. At school Mia spoke more often. She made one friend who liked listening. She smiled more without forcing it. Leo waited every afternoon, but now he waited inside the yard. He slept peacefully at night. He followed Mia everywhere like her shadow. Mia learned that giving up was not the end. She learned that connection could arrive quietly. She learned that being chosen could save a heart. The girl who once sat alone now walked with purpose. The dog who once wandered now had a name and a home. Together they had found something simple and powerful. They had found each other.